Commander Zethkai's mandibles clicked nervously as she observed the human prisoner through the reinforced viewing panel. The specimen sat calmly in the detention cell, humming what their translator identified as a tune, another peculiar human behavioral quirk that the Galactic Council's xenobiologists had yet to decipher. "Run the disruptor test again," Zethkai ordered her subordinate. "Commander, we've already—" "Again." The Velkari technician's tentacles fluttered in resignation as he activated the neural disruptor. The device hummed to life, emitting the same frequency that had rendered entire Andromedian fleets catatonic, that had brought the mighty Krellian Empire to its knees in mere hours. The energy pulse, invisible but devastating, filled the human cell. The human, who had identified himself only as Martinez, continued humming. He scratched his nose, yawned, and began examining his fingernails with mild interest. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Naileth, the Council's lead xenobiologist. "The neural disruptor targets the quantum coherence patterns in all known sentient brains. It should have rendered him unconscious within seconds. 3 months had passed since first contact with humanity, and 3 months since the Galactic Council had discovered their most devastating secret. Humans were completely immune to every weapon in their arsenal. It had started as routine. The Council's standard protocol for newly discovered civilizations involved a demonstration of superior firepower. A few warning shots to establish hierarchy, followed by peaceful negotiations. The humans of Earth received the same treatment that had worked flawlessly across 47 different species. The quantum plague that had decimated the Thraxian population, humans showed no symptoms. The gravitational pulse cannons that crushed Zephyrian ships like tin cans, human vessels emerged unscathed. The psychic warfare techniques perfected against the telepathic Mindari, humans seemed utterly oblivious to mental attacks. Perhaps their biology is simply too primitive, suggested Naileth, his scaled hide rippling with uncertainty. Zethkai's laugh was bitter. Primitive? They've reverse-engineered our faster-than-light drives in less than a standard cycle. Their mathematicians have already identified flaws in our quantum computation, matrices that we missed for centuries. The human in the cell had stopped humming and was now doing what appeared to be some form of exercise, rapid, vertical movements that made no tactical sense. When questioned about this behavior, previous human subjects had called it push-ups and claimed it was for fitness. Another incomprehensible human trait. They deliberately stressed their bodies to make them stronger. "Sir?" The Velkari technician's voice carried a note of panic. "The human is requesting another test." Through the communication array, Martinez's voice crackled with what their psychological analysis identified as amusement. "Hey, are you folks done with the light show? Because I've got to say, it's not very impressive. My daughter's disco ball puts on a better display." Zethkai closed her 4 eyes in frustration. The humans' casual attitude toward their immunity was perhaps more unsettling than the immunity itself. They treated the Council's most feared weapons like minor inconveniences. "Commander," Naileth's voice was barely a whisper, "I've been analyzing the data from all our tests. I think I understand why they're immune. Enlighten me." "It's not that they're resistant to our weapons. It's that our weapons were never designed to affect them. Every species we've encountered evolved under similar quantum environmental pressures. Our weapons target universal biological constants that simply don't exist in human physiology." Zethkai processed this information. "You're saying humans evolved under completely different conditions?" "More than that. Earth's unique electromagnetic field, its unusual gravitational anomalies, even its primitive but diverse bacterial ecosystem. Humans evolved to thrive in chaos. Our weapons create disruption, but humans are already disrupted by default. You can't destabilize something that's naturally unstable." In the cell, Martinez had begun doing another inexplicable activity. Rapid horizontal movements on the floor. The motion seemed to serve no purpose except to elevate his body temperature, which humans apparently found beneficial. "There's more," Naileth continued. "I've studied their historical records. Humans have spent their entire evolutionary history developing immunity to toxins, diseases, radiation, extreme temperatures, and psychological trauma. They've been preparing for warfare their entire species' existence, not against aliens, but against their own planet. Their own planet tried to kill them, continuously, and they adapted. Every generation became more resilient, more resourceful, more impossible to defeat. They didn't develop civilization despite their harsh environment. They developed it because of it. A communication alert interrupted their discussion. Martinez was speaking again. Look, I don't know what you folks are trying to prove, but I've got a family back home wondering where I am. Either shoot me with something that actually works, or let's talk like civilized beings. Zethkai stared at the human with newfound respect and terror. Here was a species that casually shrugged off weapons that could annihilate planets, then asked for conversation over conflict. Dr. Naileth, she said slowly, what do you recommend? Diplomacy. Immediate unconditional diplomacy. The humans aren't just immune to our weapons. They don't need to be afraid of us at all, yet they still want to talk. And if they become hostile? Naileth's scales rippled in what his species considered sardonic amusement. Commander, have you read their military history? They've been perfecting warfare against opponents exactly like themselves for millennia. If they become hostile? He didn't need to finish the sentence. The implications hung in the air like the hum of an inactive disruptor array. In the cell, Martinez had stood up and was stretching his arms above his head. Through the communication system, they could hear him humming again. A different tune this time, somehow both cheerful and ominous. Zethkai made her decision. Open a channel to the human fleet. Tell them we want to negotiate. Full diplomatic protocols. And the prisoner? She looked at Martinez one last time. The human had resumed his exercises, completely unbothered by captivity, torture attempts, or the fact that he was surrounded by a galactic military force. Release him and perhaps ask if he'd like some coffee.
I understand humans find it helpful during negotiations. As she walked away from the detention block, Zethkai reflected on the galaxy's new reality.
They had sought to demonstrate their superiority to a primitive species, and instead discovered that sometimes the most dangerous opponents were those who couldn't be threatened at all. Behind her, Martinez's humming echoed through the corridors, a sound that would soon become the unofficial anthem of the galaxy's newest and most unconquerable members.